iPads, new technology, new staff going forward in 2017. We'll meet the future faces of MCS education and learn what it takes to be a Giant by choice. All that and more right now on the Giant Showcase.
Welcome to the Giant Showcase. We are spotlighting excellence in the arts, athletics, and academics within the Marion Community Schools. I'm your host, Angela Stepp, and we have a giant show lined up for you. I have special guests with me all throughout the show, and you do not want to miss them. In fact, the very first person that I have with me is brand new to the school system. He's only been with them for a whole 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and we're sticking him in the hot seat. Can you believe it? Oh, my goodness. Well, his name is Tyson Mock, and he is the new Chief Technology Officer for Marion Community Schools. And my gracious, that's a big undertaking because they are really investing in all the new technology.
Absolutely. Yeah,
and
a big
congratulations, I might say as well. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being willing to do it on such short notice and let us ask you questions before you've truly gotten your head wrapped around what you're doing. So I'm so grateful. You know, Marion Community Schools, they're in the process of implementing a lot of new technology. In fact, we just, on the previous episode, had the school board on here, and they approved a $900,000 amount to be able to purchase some new technology like iPads for use within the school system for students to use. And, you know, I'm curious, would you share with us your role as Marion Community School is in the process of embracing this new technology and these new systems? Share with us what your role is going to be as they go about that effort.
It's a leadership role as Chief Technology Officer. What my role is to ensure that we have the infrastructure that's in place that will support all of these additional devices.
So you got to keep it working.
Absolutely.
Right.
We got to make sure it works first, and then make sure that it runs and it's reliable, and those things are very important. In addition to that, I also look to establish relationships within the school, among the staff as well as among the students, and engage and gain an understanding for how they feel what the value of technology is. And once I wrap my head around all of that, I need to look outward, outside of the school, into the community, and then see, where we might be able to partner with other organizations that can help us see our vision through. So I kind of see myself as a facilitator, looking to establish, a great foundation through which great learning can take place within the Marion community. Not just within the schools, but also outside the schools. With partnerships, I think, with local government, the public library, and I think other partners, as we find them, that could step forward and help us achieve our mission.
I have to say, this is not something that's new to you. Actually, you have an established background already.
That's right.
In K through 12 education, as well as from a municipal standpoint, as well as even some background with library as well. And so you've got a lot of experience under your belt already, and you're bringing that wealth of experience to Marion Community Schools. And so I'm curious then, as you're building upon that, what is your takeaway from all of those different roles that you've already had a chance to experience?
Right. Well, and I think it's important to frame that experience around the idea that the technology is always changing. So oftentimes what I did 20 years ago in K-12 is not something that I would do today in K-12. As the technology evolves, you kind of have to sharpen and refine that vision and that strategy for achieving great learning that takes place in the classroom. I think that experience being with the schools and serving the needs of students and staff and the community in general for 2 decades is definitely valuable. But so is, as you've mentioned, my experience in working with local government as well as a public library. So and most recently working for the public library, that added perspective that I hadn't really considered before in terms of how partnerships could unfold, and what libraries are trying to do to enrich their communities. I think it's kind of the same mission as what schools are trying to do in terms of enriching students. And so there are opportunities for relationships that exist within the community. It's just a matter of identifying those stakeholders and bringing everybody together. So, it's a big job, and it's a very big job. It's very challenging.
What are some of your first goals as you step into the role? What are your
goals? The first goal, and I think the most important, is ensuring that you understand what the community values.
Yeah.
And there's a different culture in every community that I've worked.
True.
Once you identify what that is, you establish the relationships with the people that live, eat, and breathe in that community, and that's extremely important and to the success of any strategy that I would identify that we would work towards achieving any goals that we set forth. So those relationships are huge. That alone is what my primary focus is going to be, at least initially, is getting to know the people and spending time, understanding what they see as being valuable in the community, especially with regard to technology.
Real quick, because I don't want to run out of time, and I really would love for parents to be able to hear because of your background, to hear your perspective on this next question. Okay, so I have some statistics I want to share with you, and these are something that I think you're going to be familiar with too. Did you know, let me look and make sure I have it right, that over half of our children today start using technology through the form of a mobile device between the ages of 5 and 8 years of age, and that over 30% of the apps that parents download on their mobile devices are actually for their children, and that over 77% of parents actually believe that using a tablet is going to increase a child's learning and creativity. And even iTunes, right? The school just purchased iPads, right? So iTunes, did you know that over 70% of iTunes' top-selling apps, these are going to be apps that they're producing that are learning apps, that they are designed for preschoolers and elementary students? Now think about that for a minute. Now think about the school system investing in technology and all of the upgrades and these new systems and how important his role is to make sure it all works. But Tyson, I want to ask you, from your perspective, how important do you think technology is in the classroom?
Well, I think technology has evolved over the last couple of decades pretty significantly, from being just an additional tool that's available to the teacher, to becoming a core component of curriculum delivery and consumption. So, but there needs to be, and I think it's important to outline, that there's a lot you can do with technology.
Right.
There's a lot of responsible, productive ways that you can leverage that tool within the classroom, but there's also ways to use it unproductively.
Tell me, for parents and grandparents, guardians, etc., children, they're coming in, they are using all this new technology, right? But maybe we aren't so comfortable with it. We don't feel too tech savvy. What advice do you have for parents or guardians as their children are embracing this new technology and maybe we feel a little left behind?
Well, I would advise them to take a chance and experiment with it. That's what kids do, and they're super comfortable with that. So,
that's a good point.
When they see a new device, they're curious and they want to learn how it works, and that's kind of the thing that separates kids from adults. Because adults tend to lose, I think, touch with that curiosity.
We're afraid we're going to break it. That's what it is. We're afraid we're going to break it.
Yeah, and you know what? And you might make it work in a way that you didn't intend.
Right.
But usually there's an undo button. Technology today has gotten a lot more friendly, and so I would advise parents and anybody really just to don't be afraid of it. Get it out, use it, experiment with it. Don't be afraid to try something new, because that's going to lead to a better understanding of how it operates and also a better understanding of the value that it can provide.
That's very good advice. Well, Tyson Mock, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. We've enjoyed having you. We hope you'll be back in the future.
Thank you. We look forward to that.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Giant Showcase in just a moment.
At what age is the color that your skin was meant to be no longer beautiful? Every year, millions of young women try to change the skin they were born with and say they die for darker skin. Sadly, some actually do. Melanoma is the second most common cancer in teens and young adults, and one person dies from melanoma every hour. Change your thinking, not your skin. Stop tanning. Learn more at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Back to the Giant Showcase. We're so glad that you are joining us, and today we are spotlighting excellence within the arts, athletics, and academics within Marion Community Schools, and you are getting the opportunity to meet some of the newest members of the Marion Community School family, and I have one right next to me. Her name is Trudy Grafton, and she is the new principal for Kendall Elementary School. And Trudy, I want to say a great big welcome to you, and thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you.
You've only been with the school system for just a few short weeks now, just a couple of weeks actually,
Yes.
correct? So again, just like Tyson, who was on a little bit ago, we're putting you right in the hot seat real quick. So thank you for being so gracious to come on and let us
You're
do
welcome.
that. Trudy, you are a veteran educator, and you specialize in building school cultures of both academic and behavioral excellence. In fact, you have been nationally recognized on a professional level. Would you share with us a little bit about that?
Going into difficult situations where we need both behavioral improvement as well as academic improvement, you have to look at the needs of the individual school, the individual students, and the families, because education is a family process as well as a community process. And that involves a lot of collaboration among all the stakeholders. It involves helping the students learn how to respect where they are and be thankful for what they have, as well as to establish high standards for their behavior and having the limits opened up wide for what they can do in their future, because failure is not an option for any student. And as we set high expectations, students will achieve those, given everyone supporting them to get that way.
Yeah, I think when you know that you have people behind you, supporting you, believing in you, then I think that the desire to achieve excellence is there, and you actually, that support does help you rise and meet those levels of excellence.
Right.
You know, I'm curious because I understand, okay, folks, you're going to like this. She believes in the power of yet, and I want to hear from you what that is. And as you do that, share with us a little bit about your philosophy of learning. Do you think that all students, no matter what their background, do you think they're all capable of excellence? I know you just kind of alluded to that, but share with us about that power of yet.
Every student can learn. There's no question every student's capable of learning. We just have to find out about their uniquenesses and how we can best meet their needs. And that's why it's very important that the parents be part of our conversation as well as the staff, as we all work together. The power of yet actually gives everyone the ability to achieve. We get rid of the thoughts of failure, of I can't do it, and we look at the process, we look at the effort, we look at how we're making progress one tiny baby step at a time, and we celebrate that, as opposed to always having to look for the A+ on the paper. Going into any type of environment, nobody wants to hear that you're a failure, that you can't do it, that look what bad things you did again.
Yeah.
And that, of course, leads to discouragement.
Of course.
So it's very important that we all give an open-ended response to students to let them know that they haven't gotten there yet. So the power of yet, maybe a child is having difficulty reading. Well, you can't read yet, but we're working towards it. And look at the great job you're doing making steps towards that and how much effort you're putting into it.
I am so glad that you bring up literacy because, you know, on a previous episode, we had another fellow principal, Dr. Gwen Levert. She was on, and one of the things that she shared on the show is, you know, parents, because her background is in literacy, she specializes in that as well. And she said, you know, parents will forgive us for a lot of things, but they won't forgive us if we don't teach their child how to read. And so I would like to hear your perspective on literacy and how important of a role that is going to have in your focus while you're at Kendall Elementary School.
Right now, literacy is our #1 focus. All children need to be able to perform in a literate society. Our society is geared towards literacy, so therefore we have to make sure that they have the skills to be successful. We're putting on all sorts of measures. We're getting new routines in place. We're getting new procedures. Actually, we're working very closely with Dr. Levert so that we are working together to put these things into both of our schools, and actually I believe all of Marion Community Schools, in order to help children become the very best they can be. No one wants to not be able to read. Some children it's more difficult than others. Some adults it's more difficult than others. But that doesn't mean that they're a failure. That doesn't mean that they're less than someone else. It just means that their strength might lie someplace else. But we want to help get children to reach their potential. But then also at that same point, though, we have to realize that literacy comes in many different areas. I might not be able to fix a car, but someone else can. So that's their literacy. But we want to be able to instill in people the abilities that they can use to their very best.
I really like that you're looking at the taking an existing strength and building upon that, so that it then can trickle out and you can broaden your ability. I really respect that. Yeah, I'm also curious, since we mentioned Dr. Liver, she had said that her mother, because she struggled with literacy at a young age, and her mother became a warrior for her on helping her. So how then, as you are taking into this consideration parents' role in their child's learning to read, how are you going to empower parents, and what are you hoping to see?
Okay. Parents are the most important part in their children's academic future. At Kendall, we're striving to make parents as partners. I've already met with a number of parents, and we've sat down and discussed the learning needs of their students, things they wanted me to know, and we're all working very hard to make the best fit for their child. It's integral that parents be a part of the educational process, whether it be academics or behavioral. We have to work as a team. And I welcome parents to contact me, and as we work together. At the same time, we have to be mindful that...
So you have an open door policy for parents.
Yes. And I have an open door for my office, but we have to realize that the educational setting is one that we need to provide the least disruptions as possible. So if someone wants to come visit the classroom, it's important that they show respect and make arrangements with the teacher ahead of time. Just because, for instance, to help support our literacy, we have a 90-minute block right at the beginning of school day. Starts at 8 o'clock, goes till 9:30. That is uninterrupted. Every child in the building will be working on literacy. Every teacher in the building will be supporting literacy. And that includes phys ed teachers. Everyone during that time will be helping in classrooms with guided reading groups or whatever it takes, because we're going to do whatever it takes to help every child succeed.
You know, another thing that I want to bring up is that her background, you know, it not only did you go through and get your bachelor's and master's degree, beyond that, you went in to specialize specifically in administration, supervision, and curriculum instruction. And, you know, as we've been discussing on the show, all this new technology that the school system is investing into Marion Community Schools and the students, and all of these new resources that are available, I'm curious, how do you envision the technology to be implemented into the learning process on the elementary level?
Technology is a tool that can be used to help accentuate learning. We're not looking at using technology as a babysitter, and I caution people to be very careful of that, because it's not just anything is beneficial.
Yeah, that temptation is there.
Yes, it is, and it's and kids love to sit and be on technology all the time. But we have to be mindful of what they're using to make sure it is actually benefiting them. In our global society that was now evolving and becoming more and more prevalent, students need to know technology. It's not going to go away. It's changing rapidly. And we've got to try to do our very best to provide them with a basis to succeed.
So true. We know we're out of time, but I want to thank you, Trudy, so much for coming on to the show, and look forward to hearing about some excellent things that are going to be coming out of Kendall Elementary.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Yes, and you know what? We don't want you to go anywhere, because I have one more very special guest coming up, and you want to meet her. She's another new member to the Marion Community School family. So we'll be right back with some more Giant Showcase. I'll see you in just a moment.
If you're a man over 50, you're in a group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma. That's why your best shot is to check for a spot. Follow through and check your skin. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out how.
You're watching WSOT TV, North Central Indiana and Western Ohio's source for family programming you can trust.
Welcome back to the Giant Showcase. I'm so glad that you're with us. We've had a chance to get to know some of the newest members of the Marion Community School family, and right next to me is another one. Her name is Robin Peterman, and she has taken on the exciting new role as the principal for Justice Intermediate School. And wow, thank you for coming onto the show. And wow, you've got a big role ahead of you.
I'm excited about that. Thanks, and thanks for having me.
You know, you've got an established background in education, and we kind of expect that because of the excellence that's going on within Marion Community Schools. And I understand that one of the things that you excel at is building a strong sense of community within school systems. And I'm curious if you would share with us a little bit about your background and how you're going to take that background experience and use it to benefit the teachers and the parents and the students at Justice.
Wow.
That's a big opening question, isn't it?
Ta-da! I would say that as a child, I moved a lot. So when you move a lot, you learn to adapt to new situations, and you also learn what's rough and what's not rough. So when you have a middle school or an intermediate school like ours, it's only 2 years, you have half of your children are all new. So you understand what it's a little scary to not know how to open a locker, or it's scary to not know where you're going. So we have to build that community with our kids right off the bat so they know, and parents are comfortable knowing we understand that.
It's a big transition that they're in.
It is, and it's also important that kids want to come to school every day.
Yes.
So as a parent myself, I have 4 children that are grown up, but my biggest thing was that they want to go to school every day and that they feel like their teacher likes them.
So, Robin, I think it's an apparent goal of Mr. Lindsay, Superintendent Lindsay, as well as the school board, that they really want children and educators to be excited about coming to school on a daily basis. And, you know, that's really evident in various ways through, you know, we've been talking about the technology investment as well as all of the different programs that they're offering within academics as well as the arts and athletics, etc. So that's, I think all those resources there, they're meant to be a help in creating an atmosphere of learning. And so I'm curious then, because that is a desire that I hear you share then, how are you going to help create that atmosphere where the teachers and the students want to come to school every day?
That's a big job because everybody's important, and there's no subgroup, there's no stakeholder that isn't important. So, you know, as everybody said before, parents are really important, so you need to share with parents the importance of what you're doing, and in order for them to believe in that, you have to be worthy. So we're working really hard to get the most training that we can, to help our teachers be learners and enjoy learning new things, but also to listen to people who already know what they're doing, because you don't come in a new situation and assume you're going to change everything and make it work, because a lot of good work's been done already. So I would say parents want to know that you like their children, that you care about them. So that comes from listening to the parent, listening to the child, doing your best to be in a good mood no matter what's going on, and letting kids know that you're glad to see them every day, welcoming them into every classroom. But the same goes for adults. You know that old saying, ain't nobody happy if mommy ain't happy. Right? Well, it's the same thing with teachers. They've got a lot of experience at our school. We have a lot of teachers who've done wonderful things. So we need to make sure that we support them the way they need to be supported.
They have big jobs.
They do have big jobs, and there's nobody who has a bigger job than them. So I'm lucky to be where I am. There's a lot of great people that are going to teach me a lot of things too. So I'll be open and I'll be ready to learn from them. And I think that's what parents want to know. I think they want to know that we don't assume we know all about their child. We need to learn about their child because we care. And it's not just about reading and math, although those things are very important. It's about helping that child be successful in all aspects of life. So when they leave us after 2 short years, they have a better chance of success in high school.
How do you integrate all of these new programs and technology and systems, etc., and not lose the child, not lose the learning process?
Good teaching is good teaching no matter what the topic is. So whether you're talking about learning more technology, or piloting a new program that we're doing for science, or having a new textbook adoption, which we have this year for math. So those are all learnings that we're all going to have to do without losing account of where our students are.
Right.
So I think what we will do is make sure that we honor that, we recognize people for the good that they do, and then that keeps inspiring them to want to do well. And I'll tell you, for me personally, and I bet for you too, if when people tell you you do a great job, and it's sincere, and they just say you were made for this, you're going to do even better the next day.
It inspires you.
As long as it's sincere.
Yes.
So what we're going to be doing is
and the kids can pick up on that really quick too, can't they?
Exactly. So we're going to be almost like talent scouts, trying to recognize the great things that kids and teachers do, and the parents and everyone else that's a stakeholder, and so that they realize it does make a difference and someone notices.
Yeah. in such an important transitionary part, just that little 2-year segment of their education process. So, and it's a big responsibility that you and all the educators there have. And so delighted that you are the one that's taking on that role. And we are out of time, but I have one more very special guest. His name is Mr. Brad Lindsay, and you are familiar with him because he's the superintendent of Marion Community Schools. He's going to be joining us here in just a moment. Hear a few words from him, but we've got to pause for a really quick break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more Giant Showcase in just a moment.
In many ways, my job at Boeing feels like a continuation of my role in the Air Force Reserve.
Like when I'm refueling aircraft from a KC-135 tanker at 20,000 feet. Plus, there's a unique fellowship within the military and my civilian job. We take care of each other and support one another like family. Many people spend their whole lives looking for their dream job. I have that dream job.
Start your adventure with the Air Force Reserve.
You're watching WSOT TV.
And welcome back to the Giant Showcase. I have with me, as promised, Superintendent of Marion Community Schools, Mr. Brad Lindsay, and he is going to do a final word on today's episode. You know, I have had so much fun, Brad, getting to know some of the newer members of the team at Marion Community Schools. And, you know, one of the things that stood out to me is this atmosphere of fun and the fact that they're working to inspire children.
Yes.
And so that's something that I am taking away from the show. And I'd love for you to kind of share your heart a little bit and give us some final words, some final thoughts on that.
At Marion Community Schools, we think it's fun to have fun.
Yeah, it's true.
And we're bringing in a high level of talent. So what's fun is people being attracted to Marion, our students, our families, our community, being attracted to our mission and our cause. And our students are why we exist, and we want to provide them our mission-motivated best. And you can see it's fun when you bring in this level of expertise, this level of know-how, these level of successful experiences from people who have been there and done that, and yet they want to serve here in Marion. So we're committed to bring Marion our very best.
You know, that's something that stood out to me is the level of experience that everybody that I've had a chance to visit with, that they have already got some really solid backgrounds that they're bringing in to benefit the teachers and the children and the parents. I really love the incorporating the parents into the learning process, that they're not being left out, which so often can happen.
It can, but we're bringing in mature leaders, and mature leaders understand it takes the whole community or it takes a village. And our parents are our key audience. Our students who are serving, but we're partnering with our parents or guardians. They know their children better than we do. So we need that information. And together, behaviors are learned at school. They're learned at home. They're learned at community. It takes all of us. But at Marion Community Schools, we're having fun learning. We believe every child is expert at something. We want to help them to become expert at something.
So true. You know, we were just talking a little earlier about taking a child where they're at, and I think Trudy was talking about that in literacy, about where they're at, what they're strong already at doing, and building upon that. And I respect that so much because as Robin and I were just talking, you know, that's going to inspire children to want to strive for excellence and to continue to excel.
Well, that power of want to is so important. We want to find that motivation. We want to inspire. Our mission is to inspire the hearts and the minds of every child and develop behaviors, right, healthy behavior, productive behaviors and habits over time. But it starts with inspiration. So when we're having fun and we're passionate about what we're doing, people want to be where there's life. People want to be where there's liberty. And at Marion Community Schools, there's life. There's liberty for all. There's equity and access for all. We're centered on the child and student learning, and we want to provide students their very best, but it takes all of us, faculty, staff, administrators, parents, community, all of us rallying around our children to provide them just the premier opportunities. And that's what you get at Marion Community Schools. Academic opportunities, real-world education. Our diversity is our strength, and we provide those diverse opportunities.
Yeah, it's real apparent that your goal is to become the school of choice, and I think that you are working very hard to make that happen. And there's a lot of great things that you're offering the students and the families and opportunities to expand beyond just academics, but within the arts and within athletics. And so I want to give you a big hats off for all the effort that's going into it, and love that you are so focused. And we have to wrap up the show because, you know, we're out of time.
We're Giants by choice, and we are focused. When it comes to our children, it all matters. The academics, the arts, the athletics, the opportunities. We're going to show our children so they'll know a different way of living.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, I'm entering my 5th year, and at Marion Community Schools, we are more focused and more prepared, right people in the right places. This is going to be our best year yet. It's going to be giant. We're going to have fun learning and achieving.
Well, I cannot wait to see what happens in the 2017 to 2018 school year. So thanks for coming on the show, and we'll hope to have you on again in the future, okay?
You do a great job. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you for watching the show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and we look forward to seeing you next time right here on WSOT TV. God bless.